Hi there, welcome back to Your Stable Friend. You know, I started my road in advocacy with bitless, with trying to advocate for bitlessness. And it's something I'll always come back to. It's sort of my first love that way. And I wanted to talk about an interesting situation that I had with a student a couple of weeks ago. We're going to call this student Jessie. Jessie is a young person, maybe 10 years old, and Jessie's been riding with me for 2 years now. I'm going to leave Jessie's gender and more specifics out of it, so I can make this very generalized and try to appeal to more people with this conversation. Jessie has only ever ridden bitless because Jessie's only ridden with me. And we're all bitless and have been all bitless now for the last 10 years. So Jessie's only ever ridden bitless, but Jessie has a best friend who rides somewhere else who does not ride bitless. And Jessie's little friend not only rides with a bit, but has to carry a crop and rides with people in the lesson that also wear spurs. So Jessie's friend is very much in riding in the world that I grew up in. Bits, whips, spurs, instructors that are sort of punitive towards the students and the horses, that whole thing, that if you are my age, soon to be 60 and older, that's the way that we grew up riding, most of us. So Jessie has no idea about this. I mean, I think Jessie's head would explode if Jessie was transported into one of those lessons. So Jessie's been a pretty firm believer that you don't need any of those things to ride because it's been proven to Jessie that you don't. Jessie walks, trots, canters, goes over ground poles, does some basic vaulting, all on horses that are bitless. Mostly barefoot. We have no whips in the barn at all. I think there are one or two old ones lying around somewhere. I thought I saw one coming out of the earth the other day that got buried years ago, and has never seen a pair of spurs as far as I know. So Jessie is quite confirmed that you can do most anything you want. He or she sees people going in and out of our stable to go on the trail without bits, without whips, without spurs, sees more advanced riders without bits, without whips, without spurs, doing a jumping course, doing upper level dressage movements. So Jessie truly is under the impression that you do not need that equipment. And I know that Jessie is right because I've seen it myself, because I've been doing it myself, that you don't need that kind of equipment. But because Jessie has this little friend who does do all those things, it has been fascinating to see, because this is like Jessie's best friend. It's been fascinating to see what Jessie's mind has to do to be able to accept that their best friend does these things to the horses and has been brainwashed to think that you absolutely do need those things. So we have conversations all the time, and I asked Jessie something about the friend, and they told me that the reason they believe that they have to use bits for some horses is because some horses are very difficult and not trained well and need to have the bit. And I looked at Jessie, who's very, very logical and has great common sense, and I said, if a horse wasn't trained well and needed extra control, should that horse be used as a school horse? And Jessie looked so confused for a moment and said, no. I said, yeah, so you're saying that that poor horse has to do a job that it's not even prepared to do, and the only way to be able to get that horse to do that job is by putting a bit in its mouth. I said, do you think that's fair? And Jessie said, no. And then Jessie could not give up this thing with the bit, though, and said, yeah, but some horses are wild. And I looked back at Jessie and I said, is a wild horse that hasn't had the proper training to be a riding horse appropriate for people to be riding in a riding school? And Jessie said, no. And then before I made Jessie cry, I changed the subject very quickly, and I said, let me just ask you something completely aside to that. I have a tiny little pony bit that I use for educational purposes to show the kids that have never seen one, or to do a talk about how the snaffle pinches or how the rings pinch. And so I have a little pony snaffle that I have. I said to Jessie, I said, I have a little snaffle that would fit you perfectly. During your lesson today, could I strap that to your face and could we put that in your mouth? And you should have seen the look on Jesse's face. Like I was, first of all, like I was crazy. Second of all, like how could I even ask that? Like, of course not. That's ridiculous. That's unbelievable. How me put a piece of metal in my mouth? And so when I asked Jesse, what's that look all about? Jesse basically expressed those feelings similar to what I just described. And I said, but then you're just telling me that you think it's okay for some horses to have to wear the bit. And then poor Jesse really looked like they wanted to cry. And I thought maybe I better stop this altogether. But I feel that I have to nip this in the bud because I see how peer pressure works in very mysterious ways. It's not that Jesse's even gone to this place and being brainwashed. Jesse is trying to brainwash themselves because they want to have this love and understanding for their friend. They don't want that to splinter by thinking my friend might be a bad person because my friend doesn't see this. My friend doesn't see what's happening here. The human mind is very trappy and very, very tricky. And why I feel like I do need to keep checking in with Jesse just to make sure that Jesse's passion for Jesse's friend does not outweigh Jesse's passion for being kind and humane with the horses. Do you see where I'm getting at? Do you see where I'm now steering this conversation? Do not feel peer pressured if you know that you are doing the right thing for your horse, if you think that you are doing the kindest thing for your horse, if you feel that you are doing the most gentle, humane, ethical thing for your horse, then just leave that subject alone with other people. If you feel that you're going to have to choose your friend over whether to put a bit in your horse's mouth, just don't talk about that with your friend. Just leave that off the table. I have a friend who does things with horses that appall me, well, just for lack of any other word that makes more sense, that absolutely appalls me. I feel the friend knows better, but for convenience sake has to do these things. I love this person. I don't want my relationship with them to splinter. We leave it off the table. And if that's the best that we can do right now, then that's the best that we can do. I pray for a day that everybody gets on the same page and understands what truly being an ethical advocate for the horses is, what really truly being fair to them is, and that when we have options, to always try to pick the option that is the most horse-friendly, whether or not it's as convenient for us or as easy for us or any of those things. But we don't want to alienate ourselves and be, ostracized from the group and thrown off the island or the last one left on the island. We do have to get along with other humans, and we do have to get along with the people that we care about and love. So sometimes something just has to be left off the table for now. But hopefully one day the world will be a different place, and horses will have a much better and easier lot in life where we won't have to have this kind of conflict with other humans. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, and please join us next time with your stable friend.